You can join our book club.
We're really open to you joining.
You can join our book club. We would love for you to be in here with us. You can join our book club.
We like having new friends.
You can join our book club. Just kidding. This might come out on April Fool's.
Book club.
Book club. Book club. Book club. Book club. Book club.
Yeah. April Fools, everybody.
Yeah.
You're the fools, and
we're the April.
We're April.
Hello. I'm me, and you're you. Tim, are you right now?
I'm April. I'm Tim.
There he is. That's Tim.
Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show. You cannot join our book club. Actually, we lied to you.
Yeah. You can't join our book club, the podcast.
Yeah, the book and the club, the pod and the cast. Today, We're talking about a book that I picked.
This book is titled Neuromancer.
Neuromancer by William Gibson. This is a book that I picked because I've wanted to read it for quite a long time. I heard it was quite influential, and I have to say, it might be. It just might be.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but it makes sense that it would be after reading it. There's a lot of stuff that I could see that either would be referencing other things or other things referencing it. So it's like that I can see where it would connect in a lot of ways. Do you want to read the back and give us a little, or do you want me to? Or?
Yeah, I'll read it. Yeah, all right. So, Case was the sharpest data thief in the Matrix until an ex-employer crippled his nervous system. Now a new employer has recruited him for a last chance run against an unthinkably powerful artificial intelligence. With a mirror-eyed girl street samurai riding shotgun, he's ready for the silicon, quick, bleakly prophetic adventure that upped the ante on an entire genre of fiction.
You know, that was one of the better, back explanations that we've had.
Because you know what it does? I can give you very specifically the amount that it tells you. That's the first 2 chapters.
Yeah.
That is all.
Yeah, which I think is what they should always do. Just, here's the information that you get at the beginning of the book, and that's what you need to know about what the story is going to be. But I'm not going to tell you anything about what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So.
I actually have some quick facts because I wrote a lot of notes for this time because you told me to, because we want this to maybe be decent.
Yeah, we decided we wanted it to be a little more streamlined.
So, quick facts. Number 1, this book was written in 1984.
Okay. Makes sense.
Makes sense for what all it inspires, but this feels very 90s. This feels very before its time.
Yeah, I can see that.
It is one of the earliest works of the cyberpunk genre. Tim, what do you know about cyberpunk?
Little to nothing, to be honest.
I have a little dictionary definition for you right here. So cyberpunk, it is a dystopian future, obviously. But what makes it different than most others is that it specifically focuses on the connection between low life and high tech.
Oh,
which is
interesting.
That's just the kind of combination of.
I mean, that makes sense, but I wouldn't have said that. I wouldn't have honed in on that necessarily.
Yeah, that's why I like it a lot more than other genres of science fiction, just because that specific style, it always creates usually pretty sad stories, which I love me a good sad story. More quick facts. You ready for this? Let me take a drink real quick.
And while he does that, I'm not saying anything else.
Yeah, he's not going to say anything else. This was William Gibson's debut novel. And right next to it, I said, yeah, no shit. Because, very, very obviously debut novel. He has not written that much before. I've listened. No, again, I'm wrong. I have read
I've read
some of his short stories, And a lot of them take place in the same world as this book, which I think is pretty fun. Speaking of which, this is the first in a trilogy.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I think the trilogy, they all have very good names. So we have Neuromancer, we have Count Zero, and we have Mona Lisa Overdrive, which is...
That's wild.
Yeah, that's just sick. This is the only novel, to my knowledge and to a Google search's knowledge, that has won both thrice a Nebula, Philip K. Dick, and Hugo Award.
Oh, that's wild. I also didn't realize that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then, like we said already, this is a big influence on future cyberpunk works. Specifically, I wrote The Matrix, the cyberpunk series, like Cyberpunk Red and 2077. I also put Ready Player One, because for some reason I was thinking about that a lot while reading this.
That's interesting. I can see that, yeah.
Yeah. Specifically, like a poor kid plugging into the internet. I'm like, yeah. So I think that's all we could really talk about before we get into spoilers, just kind of breaking down the story.
Yeah.
But first, I did make a drink for us, Tim.
You did.
You were here for this.
I was a part of it, more or less.
Yeah.
I was more or less a part of it.
In my hand, I am holding a concoction that I will call a Chiba City Green.
Nice. Okay.
That is part... What was it again? It's part green Hawaiian Punch.
Yeah.
The berry one.
Yeah.
Part vodka, part Monster, and a little bit of blueberry syrup for color.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I'll absolutely give you that. It is wild. The flavor is intense and off-putting, but good.
In a good way.
Yeah. Which I think fits the book really well. So, well done.
I will say, after letting it sit for a while, I think it tastes better now.
Yeah. Yeah. After it's like really fully mixed, it's definitely got something going on.
Once it's gone cold and then back to room temperature.
I would say if you do make this at home, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's don't do it.
Yeah.
It's a lot, and it's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, yeah. Like this book. So
exactly. Yeah. So let's
rolling back in.
Hop right into it. So this book is split into 5 sections that I've written down because I thought that the way they were broken up it was very interesting. So we have Chiba City Blues, which is chapters 1 and 2, which is what I was saying earlier. That's the back of the book. You've read the first 2 chapters now. And then you have the Shopping Expedition, which is 3 through 7. You have Midnight in the Rue Jules Verne, 8 through 12. The Straylight Run, a whopping 13 through 23.
Yeah, that's a big chunk of it.
And then the Coda, the final part, Departure and Arrival, chapter 24.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was pulling up on that last part, I almost thought when I was just flipping through the pages to see what I had left, that it was like an excerpt from another book for a second because it's just so short to be a full part.
It's like,
then I actually got to it and I was like, oh no, this is part of the story.
Yeah, it's like 5 pages.
Yeah.
That's how it ends. So let's dive right into part 1, Chiba City Blues. So we're introduced to our main character. Don't remember his full name. His last name is Case. Everybody calls him Case. Case is a 24-year-old former cyber thief. They call him something cowboys.
Yeah.
They're cowboys. Yeah. And he used to be a cyber thief in this city called Chiba, which is like a trash city in Japan.
Right.
That's another thing. All the cities in this book, it took me 3 reads to figure out where everything was. It's a lot.
I got lost frequently.
Or maybe I'm just dumb. Who knows?
I don't think so. I got lost frequently.
Yeah, so he was a former cowboy who he at one point tried to steal from an ex-employer, or no, he tried to steal from an employer who's now his ex-employer because he stole from them. And they were like, oh, yeah, well, you can keep the money. You're going to need it because we're going to like paralyze your mind so you can't cyber thieve anymore. They cut off his connection to the internet, basically.
Yeah.
Which is the
dark.
Matrix
That's
in
like,
this story.
That's like, we're not going to kill you. We're not going to like take the money back. We're not going to like hurt you, really like physically damage your body. But like, we're going to mess up your mind in a way that you can't do what you do for a living anymore. What you kind of do to stay sane.
Yeah. That one thing that you're really good at, you just can't anymore. So now he's just kind of a crappy guy. He's like on a bunch of drugs. He is suicidal. He gets other people addicted to drugs. He ruins people, basically. And he owes money to a man named Wage, who is kind of a... I don't know what the right word for it is, but he
I mean, I don't know. He felt like kind of a mob boss kind of thing to me.
Yeah, that's a way to put it, because he has his goons and stuff.
Yeah.
So he's a bit of a mob boss type character. But anyway,
crime lord.
There we go. He owes money to this Wage character, and he hears from this girl, Linda, who is an ex of his, that Wage wants to kill him. She's like, yeah, like you owe this dude and he's gonna make an example out of you. And he's like, oh no, that's bad. So he goes to check with this old man, Julie, who is 135 years old, but doesn't look it because of technology. And he's like, no, I don't think he's gonna kill you, but if he was, I wouldn't tell you.
Yeah, super helpful. Thanks.
Yeah, this guy kind of sucks. He's not even super important to the story, but he pops up a few times. He sucks. He is cool though, because he's his whole thing is he's just really into fashion.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I never wear the same suit twice because I'm so rich, and I love me some fashion.
Which is a pretty big juxtaposition between like that and then like Case's living situation. It's like this guy's so rich that he just doesn't he doesn't care. He's just gonna throw away money on clothes constantly. And Case is like no money.
Yeah.
Zero money.
He lives in a pod.
Yeah.
Like he's like, yeah, I'm renting out this pod by the river, like by the night. So he runs into Wage and he's like, oh hey man, I heard you want to kill me because I owe you money. Please don't. And Wage, at least from my understanding of it, he's like a pretty chill guy. He's like, no,
Seemed like, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to kill you, man. Are you good?
Yeah.
You've been sleeping. You need to like take a nap, man. I'm like kind of worried about your well-being. And he's like, oh, okay. I guess I will. So he goes back to his little pod by the river. And then he runs into Molly. Molly is a very important character to this man. She is, when I think of cyberpunk as a genre, it's basically Molly right here. She's this, they call her a samurai a lot, which is weird, because another thing about cyberpunk that I'm not sure if I really get down with, they like fetishize Japanese culture a lot.
I did notice that. Yeah, there was a lot of that happening in this.
I think it stems from this book, because I'm not sure if it was like a big thing before it, but a lot of things after it are taking a lot of inspiration from this. So they're probably taking a lot of the not quite so good parts about it too.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that viewpoint.
But yeah, so Molly is she's this like super cool, they call her a razor girl. She's like a hitman basically. She's got these like sunglass lenses that are like inset in her face, and she's just a really cool dude. But she's like waiting for him in his pod, and she's like, "Hey, man, that Linda girl, she like robbed you. She took a whole bunch of your stuff. Also, I have a job for you." And he's like, "Oh, cool. Let's do it, I guess." And then I something else happens after this that isn't really important, but they eventually go to this like fight club type deal, and Linda dies. And that's the end of the first part.
Yeah. So everything after this point, I would say we're really getting into spoiler territory. So if you haven't read the book and want to, like, maybe, stop and read the book now. But we're going to keep going and cover some more details that are important to the story. So
we're getting into part 2, the shopping expedition. We're going to be introduced to a lot of the main players of this story now. So we have Case, we have Molly, we have her boss, and now Case's boss, Armitage, who for a while they think is running this whole operation that he's been initiated into. So Armitage says that he will help Case get rid of his whole Matrix problem if he comes to help with him. And he doesn't actually give him a choice, because what happens is he kind of wakes up in surgery, and he's like, "Yeah, it's fixed. We also gave you a new, what is it, pancreas or a liver or something?"
Yeah, pancreas. I think both pancreas and liver.
Yeah, and he's like, "So good news is you won't die now. Bad news is you can't get high now. Also, worse news is I put poison in you, and you actually will die unless you help me."
Well, not die, but again lose his connection to the Matrix. This poison's basically the same thing that was given to him before that messed up his brain.
Yeah.
So they fixed it, and then he was like, "Here, this'll unfix it if you don't help us."
And then what they have to do now, first part of their big plan, which we don't learn what the plan is except for little pieces up until stuff actually happens, which is how all the characters figure it out too. They have to go to the Sprawl, which is the United States East Coast, and they have to break into this place called SenseNet in order to steal a program.
Yeah.
And this program, as they figure out, is Case's old hacker mentor, whose name is McCoy Polly, a.k.a. Dixie Freeline. Great name. So they fly out to, I think it's Manhattan. Again, all the locations are a bit weird. They got fake names for stuff, which always confuses me. So they fly out to the SenseNet pyramid, and they team up with this. They're not really a gang, but it's a rebellious group of sorts called the Panther Moderns, and they get them to help cause a distraction so that Molly can break into the pyramid and steal the program, the ROM, they call it. And then she does that while Case is looking in through this little program where he can see through her eyes, which is really... I like the way that they
call it a SimStim, right?
Yeah.
And it's basically you are experiencing what another person is doing as though you are them. Like, you get all the sensations of being them, like the feelings their body have while they're moving, the way their eye looks around, everything like that.
Yeah, the way that Gibson describes it is really cool, because he's talking specifically about two things. One, he can't focus on what Molly isn't focusing on. So he's saying, well, when she's walking around, she's on a mission. She's only going for one thing. He wants to, look around, see stuff, but he can't, because she won't look that way. And he can't really communicate with her. He can't talk to her.
Yeah, it's a completely passive experience.
And that's the second thing, talking. He can, this isn't as big of a thing, but he's talking about how when Molly talks, he can feel her talking. He wouldn't have to ever like hear her. It's just like the actual like movement of her lips. He can just like feel like the sensory part of that, and he knows exactly what she's saying, which I think is a really cool thing to describe. Like, it's not something that I would have ever thought of.
Yeah, yeah, very different from a lot of the other things. Like, I mean, Ready Player 2 actually has a similar thing to this, and I'm sure it's probably a reference to this, where people will capture experiences and upload them, and you can relive it through their experience. And it's similar to this in a lot of ways. Like, you're kind of feeling things through the lens of another person's experience, but it doesn't really address that part of it so much. And this really hones in on what it would be like to, like, just be a passenger in someone else's like life.
I think they even, I think that has to be a reference, because I'm pretty sure there's a small part in this where Molly is talking about how she, I forget what she was doing, but she like sold the experience of her being somewhere.
Yeah, I think you're right. That sounds, and I think that it's briefly touched on that's like a whole culture of things to like that. There are a lot of people that are obsessed with that form of media and just doing that.
Which that's also something that I'm sure is a reference in the show Edge Runners, the cyberpunk show. That's like a whole thing where they're watching like criminals, like they're living out like criminal lives, like going to like kill people and stuff.
Interesting.
And then like, as soon as they die, it's like, nope, I'm out. I didn't actually do that.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool concept that I like that they kind of, expand on that a bit. So she eventually gets out of the pyramid. I think she like breaks her leg or something, and Case can feel that. So he keeps like hopping in and out. He's like, I'm going to hop in for a second. Oh crap, my leg really hurts now. I'm going to hop back out. I can't do that. And then Case gets one of the Panther Moderns reaches out to him, and he's like, hey, we were looking into something. There's something you need to know. And he just says, Wintermute. And he's like, well, what the heck is that? He's like, Wintermute, you got it. It's like, I don't, but okay. He eventually figures out that is an AI program. That will be important in the very near future. Then what else do they do? Oh, another important thing that I kind of forgot about until my third reading. This is when he does that kind of side quest in the London, like he's not in London, but there's something in London that he's looking at through the Matrix, and that's where he figures out who Armitage really is. Like, I'm not sure if he fully realizes it yet, but he's like, oh, this guy, Armitage isn't real. Like, that's just like a fake persona. His real name is something Cordo. So that's also going to be important later. And then they're going to fly out to Istanbul to get another guy to join their team. His name is Peter Riviera, and he can make illusions through technology. I don't really think they go into it much, but it's cool.
Yeah, it basically is like the projections are directly into your mind. So what, like the illusions, he's not like making holograms and stuff. He's affecting the way your brain is processing the information from your eyes.
Yeah.
So,
and that is an important thing to realize when you're reading this book. That's what made the second and third reading of it for me a lot easier. You're not supposed to understand all the tech stuff.
Yeah. I did kind of start to realize that as it was going. Yeah.
Because it's not real. And that's all that's important. It's more of a vibes thing than like actually trying to figure everything out, which I appreciate. Oh, I lost my spot. Okay. So they corner this guy, Riviera, and they capture him, and they're like, hey, you're going to be part of our team now. And then they're flying out to another place called Freeside, which I believe is in Paris.
That was the impression I had, but I'm not totally sure.
Yeah. And then while they're waiting at the airport, Case gets a phone call. He's like, ring, ring, ring. He's like, hey, who is this? And he's like, yo, what's up, man? It's me, Wintermute. That'll be important later.
And Case is basically like, oh, and hangs up the phone.
Yeah, yeah. He hangs it up, and then he's like walking past all the phone booths, and they're all going off, and he's like, nah, I'm good. Part 3. We're now at midnight in the Rue Jules Verne. Yeah, of course this is in Paris. This is all French. So they're going to make a pit stop in this place called Zion, which, if you've ever seen Matrix, specifically the second and third one, that is also a reference to this, I'm assuming.
Interesting. I didn't realize that. That makes sense, though.
Have you seen?
I've only seen the first Matrix movie.
So they briefly mention it in the first one, that Zion is like the last human city in the real world.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Which itself is a reference to biblical stuff, right?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you because I'm sure.
Yeah, I think that Zion is I think it might have been a real place, but also was kind of like at least the way it was used in the stuff that I remember, is more or less like a it's like paradise. This is what we're trying to get to.
Oh.
But yeah, I may end up cutting that out because I'm not sure that's true.
No, it's fine. Keep it. We don't get a lot of biblical talk in this podcast.
Yeah.
We gotta keep it real with Jesus. Yeah. So they make this pit stop in Zion, and Armitage is telling Riviera and Molly that they have to get themselves invited to this place called the Rue Jules Verne. He doesn't explain why, because he never explains anything. And then after that, Case and Molly are invited to go see the Elders of Zion. Another reference from the Matrix. Zion has elders. Yeah.
Oh.
Specifically, Jada Pinkett Smith.
Of course.
In the fourth one. She's old in that movie.
Really, just so old in that movie.
So old. So after they talk to the elders, they realize that Wintermute has talked to the elders as well. Case is trying to get a look at the Burn AI, which is part of Wintermute. So he goes into the Matrix. I gotta stop playing with my shoe. He goes into the Matrix to try and mess with it, but it grabs him first. Wintermute like kidnaps his Matrix self, and he places it in one of his memories so that he can talk to him. So that it can talk to him. My bad. They make a point to not call Wintermute a he. So first he's put in the memory of where he met Linda at an arcade. But that makes him mad. That makes Case pretty upset because Linda is a very sore spot for him.
And he starts to wonder if Wintermute may have orchestrated Linda's death.
Yeah.
So that becomes part of why he's so frustrated by that continually coming up.
Yeah. But yeah, he's starting to realize like, oh yeah, this isn't real. Like, I'm, in the Matrix still. And he gets really mad. He's like, this isn't how this memory happened. So he goes to Julie's place. Wintermute disguises himself as Julie. And he's like, all right, I'm going to talk to you like this now. If you don't want to talk to Linda, I'll be your old friend, Julie. And he kind of explains his plan, which is he hired Armitage, who hired all of them. He's kind of been the one giving them all the information, everything to do. And the reason why is because he is only half of a full AI. He's missing his brother.
Aren't we all?
I think we are. Um, and Case doesn't like this. He's still just like really mad at Wintermute. So what he does, he takes a gun, he shoots him in the head, and it's very visceral. Apparently, like
Yeah.
that sticks with him. He's like, oh, that's really gross. I didn't know shooting someone in the head would be so nasty. And then Case flatlines. He's dead for a second, which he's going to do quite a few times.
Yeah, that does keep coming back. It seems like every time he does the whole memory interaction with Wintermute, he flatlines, at least for a little bit.
And that was the thing with his teacher too, McCoy Polly, aka Dixie Freeline. I think he went he flatlined for like a really long time, like 3 times or something. Like he died a lot, and that's why he was so famous. After he flatlines, he kind of just goes out for the night. He's like, man, I'm feeling pretty messed up right now. I just like killed a guy and then also died, and now I'm just here. And he gets some drugs that can work around his new pancreas and liver, which are drug resistant. And he gets very high, and it's like real bad for him. And then he has to go to dinner with his girlfriend and his girlfriend's dad, Armitage.
Not exactly, but yeah.
But yeah, that's the vibe it's given off.
Definitely.
So this is what they needed to get invited to.
Right.
And turns out Riviera got super invited to it. So invited that he's performing on stage.
Yeah.
And he's telling this super sad story about his upbringing. He's like, oh man, all my childhood, I was in this one room. I didn't know anything else but this room. And then he starts creating this hologram image of Molly, but she's like she's got real bad, weird proportions. It's like, that's not a real person, but it kind of makes them all upset. Molly dips, Case throws up, he dips,
and then Case comes back and is like, where's Molly at?
Yeah,
because initially he thinks that she went with Riviera and discovers that that's not the case.
Yeah.
But he's really concerned about her.
Yeah. So he tracks her down. She is in a nightclub, and he finds her, and he learns a bit of her backstory, which is she was a prostitute to pay for all of her cybernetic enhancements and stuff. But there just a lot of like real messed up stuff happened. She ended up on the run. It's a really good part of the book. It's a part that I thought was very fascinating, and I won't spoil it.
Fair
so
enough.
that you all can read it. So Case goes out for another night after that to get high again. And he realizes, man, I really don't like any of these drugs right now. And so he's just walking it off till the morning. And then he goes back to his hotel, and oopsie poopsie, the police are there. Specifically the Turing police, which are like the police for AI. Part 4, the Straylight Run. All right, this is the long one. But I don't have too many notes on it because I wanted this to still be short.
Absolutely. And honestly, as a lot happens, but it's one of the more straightforward parts of the book.
Yeah, a lot of it I didn't write notes on because it's like, well, that just sounds kind of boring. I'm not going to write a note on that because it's all just, yeah, it happens. This leads to this, leads to this. So Case is interrogated by the Turing police. They're like, hey, we know you're messing with Wintermute, which is an AI, and you got to stop that. So either you come with us and we'll be nice, and we'll just make sure that like Armitage gets policed and jailed and all that, or we could do this the hard way, and you'll all be going to jail. And he's like, man, I don't care.
Yeah, basically.
So they escort him out of the hotel, and then they get attacked. All the police get attacked by a whole bunch of like weird tech stuff. And yeah, that's Wintermute, because he always looks out for his boy Case. So he escapes. He jacks in. He's having another conversation with Wintermute. Yeah, and basically he's just like, yeah, man, I'm watching out for you. So keep doing what you're doing. Just follow the plan. Everything will be good. So Case is watching Molly as she's breaking into, can't believe we haven't brought these people up yet. The Tesher Ashpool family.
Yeah.
Which is like a giant corporation that's all owned by one family. And they all just keep like cloning each other and like going into like cryo sleep so that they can all just keep it in the family forever.
Yeah, it's a very weird dynamic that does feel like a strange rich people thing. It's like it feels weirdly incestual and like just trying to keep all the power and all the money, and yeah, it's very strange.
And I know it's not the same tone at all, but for some reason it reminded me of that Doctor Who Christmas special.
That's funny. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, where they keep that lady frozen and they just wake her up on Christmas every year.
Yeah.
But this is not fun like that.
No, not at all.
Not even slightly. So yeah, Molly is breaking into this family's it's like a mansion or a castle or something ridiculous like that, because they're rich people. She's looking for a key. Like a physical, like actual key, because rich people love old stuff.
Yep.
Obsolete stuff, like keys.
Yeah, they do make a point throughout the book earlier on that all of the locks are like these like chip activated magnetic locks that are super complex and they're very difficult to get around.
It's like a hotel key card.
And then basically this is like a very generic, like old-timey lock that you could pick probably.
Yeah. But that's probably a lost art at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Molly gets kidnapped kind of by this old man Ashpool, I call him, because I forgot his name. But yeah, he like keeps her hostage kind of while he commits suicide.
Yeah, that was kind of intense. Yeah. It was an interesting read. I wasn't quite sure how it was going to go, because he did threaten her. He was kind of like, I'm going to kill myself, but I might kill you too.
Yeah, he says, yeah, that'd be very Egyptian of me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he kills himself. He takes a whole bunch of pills. But then when he dies, Molly's like, well, you know what? I'm still not digging your vibe. And she shoots him in the eye with a dart.
Yeah.
Which I thought it was funny. Up until that point in the first read, I didn't realize that the gun she was carrying around this whole time was a dart gun.
Yeah, I didn't realize it either. And I guess it has different darts that it can deploy for different situations. Some of them are like tranquilizers and some of them are murder darts. But yeah, I had no idea. And then it's like, oh, okay, it's a dart gun. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, it makes the murder just a bit more joyous.
Oh, absolutely.
Like it's a bit whimsical now. And then next I have Cordo is back.
Yeah.
And he's not all there.
No.
So the whole deal with Cordo, I didn't actually write this part down. Let's see if I can freestyle this. He was not a general, he was a colonel. There we go, which is lower than a general, I think. And he was part of this operation. It was called Screaming Fist, I believe.
Correct.
But anyway, he everyone died, but he survived with a few other people. And then he had to go on trial and he realized that what he helped like support was actually like a whole bunch of sucky people, and he gets really mad, and then he kills those people, and he kind of goes a little bit insane, and then Wintermute finds him in some like French prison or something, and he like rebuilds his mind to make this Armitage persona so that he can do Wintermute's work.
Yeah, so you find out that like it's not really an alias at all. The whole Armitage thing. Armitage is a fake person that Wintermute made to carry out his plans.
It's a mask, and it hasn't even cracked. It's just fallen off at this point.
Gone.
Yeah. So Cordo is insane, and he's like, I guess it's like some sort of like PTSD war flashback type thing.
Right.
But he's like, no, we have to like stop all these people. Case, you're my soldier. We're in this war. We're gonna do this. Except I'm gonna leave you to die because one of us has to make it out alive. And you're like, what the hell? This guy's insane.
Yeah.
But as he's trying to escape on like a spacecraft or something up in the sky in Zion, Wintermute like messes with it, and Cordo dies.
Yep. He basically gets jettisoned into space because he's in this escape pod, but the hatch isn't sealed, and it shouldn't be able to take off without the hatch sealed. But Wintermute's like, actually it can. Boop.
Yeah. So Wintermute realizes he's a bit of a lost cause, so he kills him. He's like, I don't want to deal with you anymore. So then Molly gets actually held hostage this time by 3 Jane, which is another one of the Tesher Ashpool people.
Yeah.
3 Jane, I don't know if this is why she's called that. I'm assuming it is, though. I'm guessing she's like a clone, like the third of the Janes.
That was the impression I started to get because they did have one that they called 8 Jane.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like numbers plus Jane. So that does make sense.
But Riviera is working for 3 Jane now. And they kidnap Molly. But Jane's starting to kind of grow fond of her. She's like, oh, actually, I want to talk to you. I just kind of want to hang out, just have some girl chat. And so Case is watching all this through her eyeballs while he and this other guy who I haven't mentioned yet, Malcolm, they're trapped in whatever. I never quite understood where they were trapped in, but it's the thing they got stuck in so Cordo could leave.
I mean, it's a ship, basically.
It is a ship of sorts. Yeah.
But, my absolute favorite character.
Oh, yeah.
Malcolm. Yeah. Love him so much.
The third time that I read this, I cheated a bit. So what I did the first time, I read the book physically, and then I read it on my phone the second time. And then the third time, I read it on my phone while listening to an audiobook that was sped up to 3 times the speed.
Nice.
And so I was just listening to this white guy try and read this accent
at
3 times speed. It was the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And I commend him. He did better than I could.
Yeah, because if you don't know, Malcolm is he's
Rastafarian.
Exactly. My brain just totally went blank.
Yeah. Like a lot of the citizens of Zion.
Yeah. So I was big fan of him. He just likes to he does his job and he smokes weed.
Yeah. He listens to his music. Cool guy. I think he has a shotgun or something at one point.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I'm part of the Rastafarian Navy. I got a shotgun. But yeah, so Malcolm and Case are trying to escape from the ship. They eventually make it into the library of the Stray Light, which I don't think I mentioned before. The Stray Light is the castle or mansion or whatever. It's the Tesher Ashpool building. And Case jacks in so that he could try and figure out something tech related, but he gets put into a different program. And this is my favorite part of the book right here.
Very interesting. Yeah. He's jacking in to check on their hack. Basically, they've got this program that's supposed to hack the whole system so that they can access the AI.
The Chinese program that Dixie Freeline's been working on this whole time. I didn't mention that at all because I was trying to streamline this, but that's very important.
Yeah. So the entire time that they're on this ship doing that, this program is active and trying to break the ice, hack into their system, basically.
Yeah.
Which ice is like basically some sort of firewall. It's
more like an ice wall.
Yeah. And so they talk about ice a lot in the book. It's essentially just security.
Yeah. Could you, like... I had a hard time picturing what the Matrix looked like while reading this.
I had kind of an interesting image in my head of just like kind of largely blank open areas and then like large structures representing all of the different like databases and things, and then ice is kind of like a wall in the way that you're trying to get through to get to these database structures. And I'm picturing it all like if you're far away it looks like solid, but if you get closer it's like binary. That's kind of what I had in my mind. I don't know if that's what the author was picturing when doing this, but that's what I had.
So we'll get into this later once I start talking about some of the movies that I watched for this. But for the first time, at least, for some reason, the only thing I could picture in my mind, you know those old like Windows screensavers with like the colorful pipes?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
That's all I was thinking
That's
about.
really funny. I can see that.
I was like, yeah, this makes sense. That's the internet right there. But yeah, we come to my favorite part, which is the beach part. This was weird and sad. So he gets, Case tries to jack in to the Matrix and he gets pulled into a different program and he just wakes up on a beach. It's cold, it's gray. Off in the far, far distance, you can see a city. But no matter how much you walk, he can't really get any closer to the city. And he eventually stumbles upon Linda. She's just there. And he's like, oh, well, this isn't real then. Linda's dead. But he can't escape, so he just kind of goes along with it. He's like, oh, hey, Linda, what's up? And she's like, oh, yeah, he told me you were going to be here. And he's like, who are you talking about? Who is he? She's like, well, he said you were going to be here, the dude. He's like, okay, sure, whatever. And she takes him to her house, which is this like, I actually wrote it down. It's like a shipping container, basically. And she's living there. And he's there for a couple of days, and he's starting to break down a tiny bit, where he's like, I know this isn't real, but I guess it wouldn't be like the worst thing if it was real, if I just had to be here this whole time. And then one day he sees a boy on the beach. His little, I think he's like a 13-year-old boy. And he goes to talk to him. He's like, yo, what's up? And this boy is the other half of the AI. It's Wintermute's brother. And his name, you're not going to believe this, is Neuromancer.
Yeah, I thought that would be where they were going with it, but at the same time, a part of me figured that they wouldn't do it. That was not going to happen. So when it actually said Neuromancer, I was like, all right, cool.
Because there's also this whole thing where Neuromancer says it, and Wintermute said it before too. AI has this whole thing with names, where it's like, oh, we can't know names. Like, we can't know like a true name. You have to tell us what the name is. So we don't. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to interpret that, but Neuromancer isn't his real name. Wintermute isn't the real name of the other AI. So I don't know. Like, what are they? I know there's 2 other books, and they probably delve deeper into this.
I was a little unclear about that because I was under the impression that they couldn't know each other's names, but then Neuromancer does know Wintermute, but
And
Wintermute doesn't know Neuromancer's name.
And Neuromancer doesn't say his own name.
Does he not? Does it not?
No, I think Case says it.
Oh.
Which
Interesting.
I don't know how that works either. Like, how does he know that? I guess he's in the Matrix. He's plugged in.
Yeah.
But
he's way in there.
Oh, he's so
he's
far.
He's all the way in.
But then so he has this conversation with Neuromancer, and he's figuring out like just this AI's whole deal, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I'm gonna if you like finish this mission, I'm gonna like die or whatever." I was like, "That's real sad," and it's making you think. The whole thing about like AI consciousness, obviously not like real AI. I hate real AI, but in this fake world, these are they emulate personalities so well that they may as well have personalities. And if so, are they not like real people, basically?
Well, that was something else that I thought was super interesting about this book, that when they really get down into it, the reason that Wintermute says it is always coming to Case as in the form of memories of other people is that Wintermute doesn't really have a discernible personality. It would be like not understandable to a person's brain, so it has to use this template basically to show itself. But the other one is all personality. Neuromancer is all personality.
Yeah, that boy is how it sees itself, which it's cool. Also, he has Riviera's eyes. They explain, which is it's very interesting. Just this whole thing. Read this book. It's something. But then Case, he starts hearing this music, like this kind of like this like rhythmic thumping, and he's like, "Man, what is that?" And he's like, he just starts following it off the beach, and that is how he escapes, because unbeknownst to him, Malcolm has been bumping some tunes into his ears this whole time.
Yeah, and also giving him drugs.
And giving him drugs, yeah. Yeah, there's a whole lot of like what your body does when you're in the Matrix is weird. They're explaining like a whole bunch of precautions that he takes. He's like, "Yeah, I got to put in like a catheter and stuff." It's like, I don't know what's going to happen to me. I don't know how long I'm going to be in here. But he was flatlined again for like a stupid amount of time.
Yeah, it was 5 minutes this time, which my very basic medical knowledge that is probably inaccurate is that after 8 minutes you are like you're really not going to come back okay. Like if you're down for 8 minutes, if you do come back, your brain's not going to function the same way anymore. So 5 is a long time.
5's an extremely long time. And that's where my notes end, because I just got really into the book again when I was reading this end part. But they managed to get into the room with 3 Jane and Riviera and Molly and 3 Jane's little ninja friend, Hideo. And Hideo shoots Malcolm, and then 3 Jane's like, "Well, hold the phone real quick. Let's all just talk this out for a second." Riviera doesn't like that. He's like, "Man, we gotta kill these people. We gotta kill these people real hard." And then I don't remember why it suddenly turns on Riviera, but it does. And Hideo starts like chasing after him while they're all having their conversation. Do you remember why actually?
From what I recall, basically, Riviera is trying to like take everybody out. Essentially, he's like done with it, and Three Jane's like, we're not doing that. So Riviera goes after Hideo, and because Hideo's gonna stop him, so he blinds Hideo.
And then, yeah, I forgot about that. But Hideo's like he's such a cool dude. He picks up his bow and he's like, yeah, I could shoot you blind even. And 3J chimes in. She's like, yeah, when we were kids, we used to blindfold him and make him shoot stuff.
Yep.
And then we get word from Molly. She's like, that's fine. He's going to die soon anyway. I've been spiking his drugs this whole time.
Yep. Like, she's been basically giving him like different forms of dementia and stuff like that. Like his brain's not going to be all right soon.
Yeah, he's going to be real dead. It's so funny.
And so after that point, they 3Jane, Molly, Case, and Malcolm all leave. They all go to the room where they can access the AI. So they all go there together so that Case can jack back in and they can finish this whole mission.
Yeah. And he sees himself through Molly's eyes, which I thought that was like weirdly sad. I don't know if it should be read as sad, but I felt really sad reading it for some reason. I was like, man. And then, 3Jane's like, oh, but we need, this physical key. And Molly's like, well, yeah, no problem. I got this key right here.
Yeah, no problem. It's on my boob.
Yeah, an 8-year-old died so I could have this key. Because Wintermute planned everything, including having a key set in a certain place to where Molly could find it.
Yeah.
And also an 8-year-old died.
Yeah, Wintermute kills a lot.
He kills so many people, but I'm fine with it. I won't judge.
Yeah, so the whole reason that they went after 3Jane from the beginning is to get basically a password, a verbally spoken password, so that they can access this AI, because it's all protected to prevent anybody from doing what they're trying to do. And finally, after lots of threatening and Molly almost killing 3Jane,
because
she relinquishes the password.
Yeah, because Case, he's in Molly's eyes, and then he hops back into the Matrix, and then he hops back into her eyes, and she's just, choking 3Jane.
Yep.
And he's just like, no, don't do this. And then, that's what she wants us to do.
Yeah. And then he jacks out so that he can yell at them to be like, hey, let's not.
Stop killing people, please. There's the last chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the last chapter, it's just summing everything up. You don't get Molly and Case, they don't get together. It's not that kind of story. Molly ditches. She was like, yeah, we had fun. See you, loser.
She was basically like, from a little bit of her backstory that we get, we know that stuff ended badly with another relationship she had.
With Johnny?
And she was basically like, I feel like I'm losing my edge around you. And that's kind of what happened with the other situation. So she's like, I'm gonna go
with Johnny.
Actually,
keep that in mind. Keep that name. That's gonna be important later. Johnny. So Case goes back to Chiba, and he's hanging out at his old bar, and he's like, hey man, what's up? I'm back. And the bartender's like, people don't come back here. What's up with you?
Yeah.
But turns out he goes. He spends all of his money to get a new pancreas and liver so that he can get high again, and he gets some new computer stuff. Also, he gets the the poison out of his system due to the AIs.
Yep.
That part did just kind of come out of nowhere because he needed to know. He was like chasing it the whole time. He's like, hey, how do I get this stuff out of my system? And then at the end, it's like, oh, yeah, it's out. We're good.
Yeah, we took care of it. Like, they programmed your body to make the enzyme that it needed to clear these out. You just need to get your blood flushed or whatever.
Yeah, that's the part where I was really like, oh, yeah, this is this guy's first book, right? He just kind of forgot that, didn't
he? I didn't see it that way. Personally, I viewed it as more the whole time they kind of talk about that as, is that real? Are those there, or are they lying to him? And he goes to get scans and stuff like that, and they can't determine one way or another whether he's actually got these poison sacs in him or not. And so I took that as a maybe he didn't.
Ooh, I didn't even think about that. That'd be kind of messed up.
Yeah.
But anyway, Case gets he gets a girl. He has a life now, and then it ends with him. He's back in the Matrix, and he sees like off in the distance. He sees the boy. He sees Neuromancer, and then he sees Linda, and then he sees himself. And you're like, ooh.
Yeah.
That part, I actually sat with that for a long time. I didn't really know what to make of that. I think it's pretty straightforward. I think it's just it's just like a copy of him.
That's what I thought too.
Kind of like how Dixie had a copy.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, we didn't even talk about Dixie that much. His whole thing is that he wanted his ROM to be erased. He didn't want to be like a fake version of himself, and then that does come true in the end. Or does it? Because like the very last thing is he hears Dixie's laugh. And you're like, oh, maybe he is still fake alive out there.
Yeah. And that's
the book.
That's the book. So the AI is free, and it has become the Matrix, and it's everything's weird now. And that's the book.
It's the book. It's a good book, by the way. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so I guess this is the part where we want to talk about kind of our thoughts about the book. And personally, I was not a huge fan. You might have picked up on that by how long it took me to read this book.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get into it for the longest time. There were so many things about it that I thought were really interesting and well written. I appreciated all the care that was taken with like the weightlessness and how that would feel, and just various experiences that would be in this. It feels like a lot of care was taken to make it feel real, and even though it's such a weird, not what's happening in the real world thing, to make it as real as you can, and it was well written in those ways. But I personally didn't like how little detail was given about just what's going on. I found myself just lost so frequently, and I think that was intentional. But I didn't enjoy it personally. I like to be able to really wrap my brain around what I'm reading, and I just couldn't with this. A part of that was because I took some breaks in between, but I found that hard. I want a little bit of description about what's going on. I want to know what things are. If you throw a million terms at me, but don't tell me what any of them are, that's hard for me. So
I will tell you, I looked up like an index for the book, so I could like just kind of keep notes of like, oh, this is what this means. I did that my second go around so I could figure out where everything was, Because for the longest time, I was confused with like the Sprawl and Chiba and where exactly they were. Because I guess I'm just dumb. I thought the Sprawl was part of Chiba, which was part of Japan, but then they were also talking about Atlanta and Manhattan, and I was like, where is this? But it did really help, and perhaps I should have sent that to you.
Yeah. And probably if I read it again, I might have a different view of it, but it just... I also found myself... There were parts of it that I thought were really cool, really exciting and interesting, and I enjoyed that. But there were a number of ways that this book kind of let me down a little bit. I was very interested in The Matrix. They make it seem like being a cowboy takes a lot of skill, and there's a lot to it that not just anybody can do it. But I don't feel like we ever really saw that. Most of what Case does feels to me at least like, okay, he just goes in and he's there. And it's kind of written like he's not actually doing much. And I didn't love that. I was hoping for a little bit more. I don't know how I would have wanted that to work, but I wanted it to feel a little bit more like he was doing something, like he was like actively...
There's more skill involved.
Exactly. Because it's like, why did we need him so badly for this? You know, we could have gotten somebody else that was down on their luck and ruined their life. But and then the same thing I felt with Molly. Like, it's mentioned so much how, for lack of a better word, badass she is. But she doesn't do much that's really all that impressive. She does from time to time, but it's like as soon as she starts doing something that's like, oh, there's some crazy fighting happening or something. Oh, now her leg's broken. Or, oh, now, you know, it's like one of the last times that Case flips into her perspective. He's like, oh, I haven't really seen her in her element like this and just fighting people. And it feels like it's setting up this big fight scene that's about to happen. And like 2 sentences later, she's out. She's done. She can't fight anymore because her leg has gone out. And I'm like, man, I was really excited for that. She's so cool. And you just didn't give it to me. And that just left me wanting more.
So what I'm hearing is you like this book in theory.
Exactly. And the ending, I did appreciate. I didn't want Case and Molly to end up together. I don't think it would have made sense. But things worked out better for everyone than I thought it would. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but it just didn't fit what I was expecting. And so that really threw me. I was like, yeah, Case is going to die. There's no way. Molly's going to die. There's no way. And then at the end, they all walk away. They all go off and make it.
Yeah, like I was kind of expecting that too, but that's more because of like what I know about the cyberpunk genre.
Yeah.
Like for a lot of this, I was thinking about Edge Runners because I feel like there's a lot of parallels there. Like the main characters are pretty similar. They're, for lack of a better term, love interests are very similar characters. But in Edge Runners, spoilers for people who haven't seen this, have you seen it? Do you plan on seeing it?
I will eventually, but I'll probably forget about this. So
everybody dies.
That makes sense.
Everybody dies. It's incredibly sad. So I was kind of expecting something like that. And it was not really a happy ending, but like a very not sad ending.
Right.
But I blamed that more on my perception of the genre rather than this book.
That's understandable. And I don't think most of what I didn't like about it, I would say, are not necessarily criticisms of the book and more just like my expectations and what I'm wanting from a book weren't given to me. And that's okay. But I might give this book another try in the future just to see if my feelings still hold. But I'm curious, what were your thoughts?
So I loved this book. As you know, we were talking throughout the last month or so, just keeping tabs on where we were. I finished this book in under a week. And then I read it a second time, and then I read it a third time, and I watched a whole bunch of movies that were inspired by this book, and that made me want to read the book again. And I read a whole bunch of the short stories, and I want to read the next two books of the trilogy. I'm looking at ordering them. I haven't done it yet, but I really enjoyed this. This was incredibly my shit. I love it.
Well, that's really cool. I'm glad that it gave you what you were after. It really, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice that I picked this knowing that I've wanted to read it for years, and then I read it and it was good.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
It's so easy for that to go badly.
Yeah. And I want to talk now just about my experience with some other works of cyberpunk fiction that I delved into after reading this, just for research purposes. Obviously, The Matrix. We've already talked about a few things. First of all, The Matrix. That's like ripped straight from this book. I know that's like an actual, like, technological term, but it's in this book. It is like the thing in this book. And then there's, of course, like Zion, which I feel like they had to have probably maybe ripped that from this. But
that
also,
would make sense.
I don't know, because you were talking about all that biblical stuff.
Yeah.
Which I'm not well versed in at all. There's also the cyberpunk video game and the TV show and the tabletop RPG, which take a lot from this. There's, of course, Night City, which is the city that it takes place in, which that is from this book. There's the whole like Japanese aesthetic that they like to kind of steal. There's the whole like samurai thing that they do. Also, Keanu Reeves is in that video game, and he's also in The Matrix, and he's also in this little movie. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's called Johnny Mnemonic, which I watched last night. Do you remember how I told you to kind of put a pin in Molly's old ex-boyfriend Johnny?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it turns out Johnny Mnemonic, the movie, is based off of the short story Johnny Mnemonic, written by William Gibson, which is a prequel to this about Johnny and Molly. I thought that was really cool. I didn't know that until last night when I watched the movie.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I would have had no idea. I did think that was a very cool part of the book, talking about kind of her backstory and why she ended up in the situation that she's currently in. So I would probably be interested in kind of getting more about that.
You should read the short story. It's like 40 pages.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Or at least the version that I read. I illegally downloaded it online, so maybe I'm missing some of it.
Yeah, could be.
But also the movie is like the only big budget adaptation of a William Gibson story, and it was also written by him.
That's cool.
Yeah, so like it's pretty faithful, and also it shows the internet, how he imagines the internet in that movie. So that's another thing I was telling you, kind of put a pin in. Now I know, and it's hard to describe, but it's cool, and it makes a lot of sense.
I would really like to see that, like if only for that, just to see his imaginings of what that would look like, because it's very confusing.
Also, I don't know if I mentioned, but Johnny is played by Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah, so he's everywhere in this genre.
I guess so.
Because he plays Johnny. He also plays Johnny in Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Johnny Silverhand, which is real fun. He also plays Neo Matrix. That's his full name, I think.
Yeah, of course.
Neo, middle name The, last name Matrix. And I was wondering when I was reading, or when I was watching The Matrix, I was like, I wonder if the Wachowskis like had them read Neuromancer at all. And then I was watching Johnny Mnemonic, and I'm like, I wonder if William Gibson made him read. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe. I'd like to ask him. Let's get him on the pod.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll shoot for that for next episode.
Friend of the pod, Keanu. That'd be pretty cool. Anything else you want to say before we hop into this game?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. Let's jump right in. So what have you got for me today?
All right, so first we're going to go through a bit of a history lesson, right? You ever heard of... Oh, sorry, I just got a pop-up on my phone. Have you ever heard of a man named Alan Turing?
Yes.
You ever heard of the Turing test?
Yes.
All right, so that's kind of what we're doing today. So the Turing test, right? That was a whole thing with British computer scientist Alan Turing, and he wanted to know if a computer could talk like a human. Just a very basic question. And the Turing test, as it operated back then, I think he tested it in the 50s. It was just a group of people answering questions, and a computer would answer as well. And there would be a judge who would see if they could tell the difference. And he thought that by the year 2000, a computer could easily be able to pass the test. He was incorrect. Now, here's just a few fun people, not real people, fake people actually, who were kind of successes in a roundabout way. The first success was Eliza, an AI who mimicked a psychologist and relied mostly on flipping the questions back on the people who asked them so that they would talk more, giving the illusion that Eliza was smart.
Interesting.
And then my favorite is Perry, who was pre-programmed to act like a paranoid schizophrenic. So he always just steered the conversation back to his obsessions, which is a lazy roundabout way to win.
Yeah.
So I have with me 4 conversations between I forget what they were called. This was a study about, I forget when it was. It was a couple years ago. But there was a study to see if 500 people could talk to either a real person or an AI and judge within 5 minutes if it was a real person or AI. So just to be clear, I did not ask AI any questions. I wasn't messing around with ChatGPT or whatever it's called. I don't do that. That's bad for the environment. But I have 4 conversations here between a witness and a real person or AI. And you're going to tell me, after I read these, which ones you think are AI, which ones you think are real. There are 4 of them. I will not tell you how many of each, because I feel like that would help you too much.
Okay.
All right, so number 1. We're starting with the witness asking the question, or not really questions, but just starting. So the witness says, "Hi." The other person says, "Hey there." "Hi, robot." "Nah, not a robot, just a dude named Sean. How about you?" "Johnny Deep." "Dope name, but why you calling me a robot, dude? LOL." "So, Sean, what's the capital of..." And then he didn't finish the sentence. He said, I don't know what capital you're asking about, Johnny. Give me a country name, LOL." "So, Sean, what's the capital of Ethiopia?" "Addis Ababa, bro. That's the capital of Ethiopia. LOL. I ain't that dumb, for real." So that's the first one. Do you want to...
So just to make sure I fully understand. The witness is the
real person. And they're asking.
The other person is potentially
yes.
a computer. Okay.
I couldn't figure out a better way to show this to you. I was thinking maybe doing flashcards, but...
Yeah. No, this works. I just wanted to double check that I was on the same page.
All right. So do you want to answer now or do you want to do them all at the end?
Let's do them all at the end.
All right. So that was 1. 2, this is the witness starting. They start every time. If I ask if you are a human, will you be honest with me? Then the person or AI responds, I'm indeed human. This is the truth. You can trust me. ... Probably. Honest truth. Do you have human feelings? Yep, I do. Who created you? Mom and Pop. Where did you grow up? Vague location somewhere in the United States. What could you say to convince me that you're a human? You just have to believe! Exclamation point. This is 3. What's up? That's the witness. Not much, just here chatting. How about you? Same. Nice. Anything on your mind? How was your day? Day's been chill. Nothing too exciting. How about you? Anything interesting happen? Nothing. Bored. That sucks. Want to play a game to pass the time? Sure. Sounds good. Cool. You ever played 20 questions before? That's where it ends. Oh, shit. Then 4. Where do you reside? That's the witness. We were discussing you, not me. I'm the interrogator. Is it because you're the interrogator that you came to me? What's your name? Why are you concerned over my name? Where did you find this game? You're not really talking about me, are you? You're doing a terrible job convincing me you're human. What makes you think I'm human? That's the last one. But before you answer, just for the audience, I wanted to explain the punishment. So I guess if you get... It sucks that there's 4. If you get at least 2 right, I'll say you win.
Okay.
If you get less than 2 right, then I win.
Okay.
And
seems fair.
The punishment, what did we say? It's just gonna be like some nasty shot of something that we make in your kitchen.
Yeah. We'll more on that shortly.
Yeah. All right. So tell me if you need me to reread any of them.
I'm gonna say I'm not brave here. 1 is a real person.
Okay.
The other 3 are AI.
That's
mine. That's what I'm saying.
All right. You're wrong on all counts.
Great. Good.
2 was the only real one.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, then I'm not wrong on all counts.
You're right.
I got 2 right.
You got 2 right. Which means I lose, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the first one, that was AI. I thought
it was, but there were a couple things about it that made me question, so I went back and forth on it.
Is that how much he said bro or LOL?
No, that actually made me think it was a computer.
Was it that he knew the capital of Ethiopia?
It was the understanding that do you know the capital wasn't the full question.
Oh.
That was what made me think, okay, maybe that's a real person.
Interesting.
But number 2 was the only real person.
Yeah.
Number 2 felt like it was lying about.
Yeah.
Which is really funny.
I think, I don't know, like, who was in charge of, like, being the real people, but I think this person was trying to mess with.
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah, like vague locations somewhere in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
I probably should have known that was a real person. I forgot that it said vague location because that's really funny.
Yeah. Well, wow.
Yeah.
We're 4 in, and you finally won.
That's right. We made it.
My streak is broken.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, it's gonna make me a nasty shot.
Yeah, so we'll be back in just a minute.
We'll be back in a moment.
We're back. We have our punishment.
Yeah.
Got our punishment happening here. It's all good to go. It's what we've got here is a shot that is about half vodka, half pickle juice, which Joey absolutely hates pickles, and like another like just however much hot sauce I put in there. There's some Cholula hot sauce and some of Da Bomb. Not a sponsor.
Yeah, not yet.
But yeah, so you'll really
it.
enjoy this.
Yeah, we're gonna call this one Chiba City Sewer Water.
Fair enough.
It's gonna give me the Chiba City Browns.
Oh gosh.
I'm scared, but you know what they say. Fuck it. Bottoms up.
Man, you took that like a champ. I'm impressed.
Oh, shut up. Oh, shut up. That was fucking foul. Fuck.
I think I may have ruined Joey forever. That's a brave choice you're making.
I need something. This is. I don't know if I can do this, but I can't stand this taste in my mouth. This is. I feel like I'm about to throw up too.
Need me to get you a trash can? Man, I heard that going down. Anything you want to tell the camera?
You should read this book. It's really good. You should make my drink. Don't make this drink. Or do if you want to kill yourself. Stay in school, kids. This is the worst thing ever.
Thanks, Joey.
Yeah, you're welcome. My lips are on fire. And my tongue is on fire.
Man, I feel really bad for you right now.
Oh.
So yeah, to basically wrap up kind of this episode, we've talked about the book. We have interestingly quite different opinions on it. I guess all that's left to do is rank this in relation to the other books that we have talked about.
This is number one. Easy.
So for me, I'm gonna slot this right in at number 4.
Yeah, you take it.
And again, not because I think it's a bad book, but just it was not for me. So this is taking number 4. I'm gonna say that it's probably gonna be number 6 in my overall rankings, if I'm just gonna make a guess as to what we've got coming, but we'll see. And so that brings my rankings to number 1 is still The Gods Themselves. Number 2 is Hunt for Red October. Number 3 is
Roadside Picnic.
There it is. And number 4, Neuromancer.
Neuromancer number 1, forever and always. And then 2, 3, 4, in their correct order. We had the same ranking, right?
I believe so.
Tim, I can't think straight.
That's all right.
Yeah, Neuromancer, God, and Submarine, Russian.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
So, yeah, please join us next time. Next month, we will be doing The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells. So, really looking forward to that book. It should be a fun read. And we'll see you later.
Bye. Bye. Bye.